Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and welcome to the second episode of Warframe the Ultimate Beginner's Guide. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about all the features that are located within your ship and other things like progressing through the junctions and stuff like that there. So the best way for me to do this is actually just to do it live and talk to you guys about it, so I can go through and show you where everything is and tell you all the features and good stuff like that there, basically. So right away, whenever you log in, if this is your second day playing Warframe, you will get a login reward, and this login reward will basically get better as your master rank increases, or at least it's supposed to anyway. That's what they said in a past dev stream. But as you guys can see, we got the Honor of the Lotus. Now this gives you a minus 50% discount to Platinum, which basically means you get Platinum at half the price. Pretty cool. You don't have to use this, but you can, and this is really how to get you to buy Platinum at the very beginning of the game. They kind of just throw these in your face, and you know, you can play through this game completely free. You don't have to buy this at all, so just go ahead and press claim, and then it won't take you through to the Warframe website. So right away we got put into our inbox, basically just a message from Barakatir. Now I will talk about Barakatir, well, I guess saying that we have the message here now, I'll talk about him now, but Barakatir is basically the Void Trader who comes around every 2 Fridays to Warframe, and he brings valuable items which you can only get from him, for example, Prime Mods. Now, Prime Mods is a big topic in Warframe because a lot of build videos would use them, or a lot of like really good builds would use Prime Mods, but you don't have to worry about them as a newer player. There is regular versions of these Prime Mods which the Void Trader would be selling. So for example, there is Flow and then there's Prime Flow. So Prime Flow would have a higher value than the regular Flow mod. So that really doesn't matter too much. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go ahead in here and turn off the transmissions volume so we don't hear Lotus, and then Ordis as well, so we don't have to listen to them. There we go. So that is pretty good. So as you can see, there is a bunch of things in your ship, but we'll start at the top up here. This is the Codex. Now, the Codex is basically a information like storage place. This is where they hide all the tutorials for the game, but they're all written tutorials. There's nothing really here to play apart from one, and this is basically just going to be where they store all things that you sort of collect in game via things like the Codex scanners, which we haven't got yet, but we will be getting very soon. So if you want to go ahead and press X in this here, you can see all the past quests that you completed and all the quests that are upcoming. So for example, you see all the prerequisites that you need to do to unlock particular quests and things like that there. Clicking on to the next tab, you see the Universe tab. Now, this is where you're going to learn a lot about the different Warframes, the different factions, mods, art gallery, companion. It's just pretty stuff to look at and read about. So if you want to go ahead and click on Warframes and Archwings, you have this big sort of dictionary of all these different Warframes right here. So you can click on them, you can get their backstory, you can read about their abilities and things like that there. So if we take a look at Excalibur, it gives his backstory up here, then it gives his stats, gives his name, and then lists what his abilities do. So it's pretty cool if you want to sort of have a glance at a frame before you go out of your way to go ahead and farm them. Not every single Warframe will have a backstory. For example, Ash, he just has like a sort of Ash is great for this type of player type thing up here, so you don't necessarily have to you know, go in here to read a backstory because you're not always going to get it. A good one to read, though, if you want to get a little bit more interested in Warframe's lore, would be Mag Prime, though, because Mag Prime's story is pretty interesting. Same with Rhino Prime, you see it's super long and it's super interesting. It talks about the old war and how Mag was an absolute badass. However, that's a lot different in game because we didn't choose her as a starter frame. But moving on from that, you can also take a look at the factions. So these will be unlocked as you scan them in game. So you can go ahead and see here. So we have Grenier, we have the Corpus, we have the Infested, we have unaffiliated enemies, we have the Orcan enemies, we have the Sentient enemies, and we have the Stalkers. So that's a bunch of enemy types listed up there, and you will have to sort of take note of them because different types of damage in this game does more damage to certain enemies within the game. So it's good to know your faction, which we'll be talking about a little later on as well. Moving on, we have the mod section. This is where all the mods you obtain will be linked. Also, you can also see all the mods and the ranks and stuff here as well. And it also shows the drop sources here too. So whenever you begin to scan enemies and you begin to kill enemies and get these mods, it'll show then at the bottom there the drop locations for the mods. So for example, if we take a look at the Empowered Blades, you see you can get that from a Freyarch Spectre, you can get energy conversion from Syphil and Samaras and different things like that there. But there will be like some unknown drop locations and things like that there. But you know, if you want a mod, just go ahead, type it in up here. let's say one streamline, you can take a look, and then these are all the enemies that drop it, and then there's a few undiscovered enemies as well. So, you know, there you go. Streamline is a pretty important mod, and we'll be talking about how to get that there later on. So, closing that there, moving on to weapons. You can do the exact same here as you did with Warframes. You can click on them, read their stats, all that good stuff before you go ahead and purchase them. So this is the DRAKOON. It's I think it's a rifle actually, but it acts like a shotgun, and then you can see all the stats here: the accuracy, charge rate, critical chance, critical multiplier, fire rate, magazine, and all that good stuff. So that is pretty much that. You can cycle through the freemium weapon types, so melee, primary, secondary, things like that. And then what else do we have here? We have relics and arcanes. So these are arcanes are endgame items. You don't need these here yet, but you can click on them, read the stats. Relics are things used to farm prime parts. I know this is a lot of information, guys, but just bear with me. There's also objects which you can destroy. You can scan those with Codex scanners as well. There's the art gallery, which is filled with just pretty stuff. So let's see, you know, gear and equipment. As you rank up your mastery, you'll be able to see these. So this is all locked behind mastery rank, which we'll be talking about in a minute or two. We have our fragments here. You know, these are things that are in the game which you have to scan as well, and so on and so forth. Moving on to the tutorials, you know, you have all these different tutorials here, like the basics. You can just kind of go on through these, and it'll give you a decent rundown of how to do things. I think the most important one here would most likely be the damage one. And the reason that I say the damage one is super important is because, like I was mentioning earlier, there are different, you know, damage types. So this one explains it right here. We have impact, puncture, and slash. Moving on from that there, we're just going to be picking out the key information here. And then we also have our elemental damage, heat, electricity, cold, and toxin. Moving on again, it's going to talk about how you can combine these or, you know, basically use them to deal more damage. The damage bonus from electricity is 75%, and that is indicated by the 3 pluses right there. And then resistance to puncture is indicated by the little 2 minuses here. And again, I know this is a lot to take in for a newer player. But yeah, so it also shows the elemental combinations that you can do here. So you can make blast by combining fire and ice. You can make radiation by combining fire and electricity. Gas by combining fire and toxin. Magnetic by combining cold and electricity. Viral by combining cold and toxin. And corrosive by combining electricity and toxin. So that is some very important information right there, and that is always going to be there at your disposal if you need it. The most commonly used element within this game anyway is corrosive. So you want to be combining your electricity and your toxin to get corrosive in the modding section. But again, we'll talk a lot about that a little further whenever we come to it. And that's really all there is whenever it comes to this section. You can read through these other tutorials if you'd like. I don't necessarily think that they're too important, but they're here regardless, all right? So next up, we have the market over here, and the market is basically where you're going to get access to items which you're going to craft in game. Now, at first glance, you would look at this and you say, okay, well, the only things that it's throwing in my face are really things to buy with platinum, which is Warframe's premium currency, as you can see up here in the top right-hand corner. This is your platinum up here. And your platinum is basically, you know, a currency that you buy in game to buy things like cosmetics. So, for example, this armor set costs you 100 platinum. We only have 50, and we're not going to be buying that. And I feel like buying cosmetics super early on is just not a good idea, right? So you don't want to be buying that there. But what you can buy in here is you can click on this here little tab on the top left-hand corner, and you can cycle through all these different things. So let's say, for example, I wanted to buy a new Warframe. I'll click on the Warframe tab, and it would show all the Warframes that are available in-game. Now, let's say we wanted to purchase Mag, right? You click on Mag, and then you see the 75 platinum cost up here. But in the top right-hand corner, you'd see this little build thing right here. So you click on that there, and then you click on Purchase Blueprint, and that would give you the blueprint for Mag. It's also like detailing the requirements to build the frame over here in the top right-hand corner as well. So you need these here things before you could actually craft Mag. Now, these here things can be obtained in-game by killing bosses or completing quests, which are all free to play. So that means you can basically acquire all of your, you know, all the Warframes in the game by being completely free to play, which is pretty awesome, right? So that is pretty much that there. You do the exact same with weapons, guys. You come over here, you click on weapons, and then you can click on your weapon, and then, you know, just purchase the blueprint, same way you would with the Warframes, right? Now, what you will see is some weapons are actually mastery locked, and what mastery locked basically means is that they are locked behind your account's your account's mastery level, okay? Mastery level is like your account level. Not too sure which game I should relate that to, but it's basically a separate level from your Warframe and his weapons, right? So you unlock mastery rank by leveling up your Warframes to level 30. If we go ahead and click this equipment tab over here, we can see it that our Excalibur is rank 3. If we go over to the Warframe tab, we can see that there's a little bar in below Excalibur right here. And this basically signifies the amount of mastery XP that we have obtained from this frame so far. So we've got 15,817 master XP from Warframe, or from this Warframe, or on this Warframe, and that's pretty cool, right? Or that's the amount of XP that we've earned on. I'm not too sure which it is, but all you have to know is that Warframes and weapons, once you level them up to level 30 once, you will get all the master XP that you can get from that said Warframe or weapon, which is pretty good, right? So basically what you have to do is you have to acquire almost every single weapon in game, level up to level 30, and then once you've leveled up to level 30, you've got all the mastery rank XP that you can from that said piece of equipment, right? So that's pretty much all there is to your mastery. Now there is a function in this game called Forming, which will reset your frame back, or your frame or weapon back to level 0. However, you will not get master XP from re-leveling that frame from level 0 up to 30. So that's just not a thing that will happen. So there is that. And now we're going on to the second part of the ship, which is your foundry over here, your modding section, your arsenal, and then obviously we have a Kubro/Kavat incubation sector. But we haven't got that yet, and there's also a syndicate sector, which is kind of like a faction sector up here, but we haven't got that yet either. So we will be talking about that there later on. There's also Conclave over here, which is PvP, but PvP in this game is really bad. I do not recommend playing it at all. Just don't touch it. And then we have a news function over here, which is basically you click this, and then you can click on any of these, and then it'll take you to Warframe's website. If you're playing this through Steam, it'll open it up in the Steam browser and show you basically the Oberon Prime hotfix 20.6.4 or whatever the case may be whenever you play the game. So that's that. This here little radio thing, just keep it turned off. It just makes noise. It's pretty annoying. But other than that, moving on to the foundry. The foundry is where you build things. You guys have already used this if you've watched the previous video. So whenever you unlock more things, there's more tabs will be appearing up here, such as, let's say, ready to craft, or your Warframes, or your weapons, or keys, things like that there. So that is pretty much that. Moving on to our modding section, which is the most important section in my opinion. You'll see all the mods that you have, and I talked in the last video about fusion and transmuting and, you know, dissolving it and turning it into endo. So let's take, for example, right here, okay? We have our Vitality mod. Vitality is a pretty good mod. It increases your Warframe's base HP. Or not base HP, but maximum HP that they can have whenever you go into a mission. So whenever we click on this mod, you see that we've selected one Vitality, okay? So what we have now is these options. So we can either fuse it, we can sell it, or we can dissolve it, okay? So dissolving it will turn it into endo. And endo is the resource that you have up in this top right-hand corner over here. And this is used to rank up your mods via fusion. So if we were to click on this fusion tab, you would see that we have this little plus symbol right here. Now, this is what is used to rank up your mod. So if we were to go ahead and click this little plus symbol, we'd see that the rank 1 fusion cost is 10 endo and 483 credits. So if I were to press apply fusion right now, it would take both of those amounts and then basically use that there to upgrade the vitality from rank 0 to rank 1. And it would up the stats by, 30%, which is pretty cool. And then you can press that again, and then you see it change again by another 30. And you see it, the cost would go up, and you press it again, ups it again by another 30, and the cost would also go up. But this is a damaged version of this mod, and the way that you can tell that is by hovering over it, and it'll say damaged, then you'll have a crack in the screen of it. So it's not really worth leveling up right now, but that was a basic demonstration of fusion right there, and that's what you're going to be doing with all your mods in the game. Okay, the next thing that we want to be talking about is our transmutation. Now, transmutation it's a different sort of thing that you do with your mods, but basically what happens is it's like an RNG thing, right? So what you would do is you would select 4 of your mods. I'm going to select these 4 rare ones. They're all damaged, so they're not really worth using right now. And what you can do is you can transmute them into a random mod. It's costing us 36,000 credits, so we're just going to go ahead and do it anyway for sake of demonstration. So you select those 4 mods. You see that you've selected 4 because they'll have a 1 on them. You select transmute, and then you go ahead, you transmute it, and then you get a new mod out of it. Now, I recommend, well, maybe I don't recommend, you can do that if you like. But basically what happened right there is we got a stance mod out of that transmutation, and this is not damaged. So what you can do with those broken mods, because they're not going to be worth anything to you later on in the game, just go ahead and transmute them now. Get a mod, or hopefully get a mod out of it, which is a lot more worth it. Now, we got relatively lucky right there. We got Bleeding Willow. Even though it's kind of like a common rare mod, it's still a mod which will help us out at the beginning of the game a lot more than those 4 broken mods would have anyway. So we're going to be getting those 4 broken mods back in their non-broken variants later on in the game. So like I said, it doesn't matter too much if you were to, use them for transmutation right now. The only downside to that there is it also takes credits. So like I said, it took 36,000 credits from us, so now we're only left with 7,000. But the thing with that there is we can just go ahead and sell all these mods here, and then, we can either turn them into endo, or we can turn them into credits. So you can choose whatever you want to do here. But saying they're all broken apart from that redirection, I'm just going to go ahead and sell them all for credits, because I think that the credits are very hard to come by early on in the game. And that's basically my inventory sorted. Now, you can sort your inventory a little bit easier by using this tab over here. You have your recent, the mods that you recently picked up. You have your rarity, you have the rating of the mod, the price for them to be sold at, the name, polarity, the type, the rank, and duplicates, things like that there. So, you can use that there to, navigate through your modding section a lot easier. And that is pretty much that there. So if we move on to our arsenal over here, this is basically where you're going to customize all of your equipment. Now, we have our Warframe slot, right? So our Warframe slot is where we equip whatever Warframe we want to use. Right now, we're using Excalibur. Pretty straightforward, if you ask me. Really straightforward. Whenever we hover over Excalibur, you see we have these different options. We can press equip again to change the Warframe. We can press upgrade to go into your upgrade menu, where we can equip mods such as redirection, for example. We can also go to appearance, and this will allow us to customize how our Warframe looks by changing the color right here. Big part of the game. As a lot of people say, fashion frame is endgame. We can also take a look at the abilities of our frame and the stats of them, how much damage they deal, how much energy they cost, what happens whenever it ranks up. So yeah, that's also another thing. Warframes will actually gain stats when they level up from level 0 to 30, where weapons will not. That's just a ground rule that happens, and you usually just use mods to increase those stats, especially on weapons, because you would get like a weapon such, for example, like the Soma, right? The Soma deals 10 base damage, so a lot of people look at it and say, okay, well, that must be a pretty crap weapon. But, in reality, if they were to put a lot of mods on it, it would actually be one of the best weapons in the game, like a really high DPS type weapon. So, again, it's all about taking a look at the stats and modding accordingly. Obviously, there is sort of ideal builds that you can have on Warframes and stuff, which we will learn from this channel, hopefully, with external videos that I'll link you guys to whenever we're going through these guides. But, I'll try to be covering them to the best of my ability in this guide as well. So, you also get to look at your weapons here as well. So you have your primary, your secondary, and your melee. Pretty straightforward. You can upgrade these two. And, there's also other things you mentioned whenever it comes to modding, such as polarity. So if you look here, we have our polarities right here. So this is D polarity, this is a V polarity, because they look like a D and a V. That sounded really weird. But what happens here, if we pick up this redirection mod, you see that the one that matches, so the D matches the D, that'll turn green, and the one that doesn't match turns red, right? So if we were to put it on this one that matches, it would actually have to cost in a mod. Where if we were going to put it on the one that doesn't match, it would actually up the cost of the mod, so we wouldn't be able to fit it on. So if we were to just put it on a normal slot, it would take up the amount that the mod actually costs, just sitting here with no polarity matching it. So it's super important to match those polarities whenever you can, and that's what Formane allows you to do. So if you go ahead and click Actions, you can see this I can't say that word, polarization. There we go. And this basically allows you to add on another polarity onto your frame once it hits level 30. You spend a forma. It's a resource which you're going to craft in the game. That'll reset the Warframe back to level 0 in trade for another polarity, right? So you could throw on more mods and make them cost a lot less. So you'd have like a full loadout here. We also have our aura mod up here. This is our aura slot where you put on an aura mod, which will basically give a bonus to everyone in the team, and it would increase the amount of mod capacity you have. So let's say I have a dash polarity in that aura mod slot, and then I have an energy siphon, which is an aura mod, which gives you 7 more mod capacity in the top left hand corner there. What would happen if I were to match that energy siphon with that basically dash on the aura slot, I would get 14 more energy or mod capacity, which would be pretty cool. Then you have your Exilus mod over here, which you need an Exilus adapter to actually unlock, which basically is just like a quality of life mod or like a little buffer mod, which would give you like 15% bonus strength or whatever, which is also pretty cool. Moving on, we have our sentinels. So you can choose between any of these, but you will get one eventually just by playing through the star chart called the Taxon. So we don't need to buy any of those. And then you can also move on to your gear section, which we will be needing. So what I recommend doing is buying a Codex scanner and buy about, I want to say 5 of those. Just press yes, and then that will allow you to scan cephalon fragments, enemies, and different things like that there. We will need it for a junction requirement, which I'll explain in a second or two. And yeah, so definitely just go ahead and buy those Codex scanners and keep them in your inventory. You can also go to your emotes and stuff. So to access that little gear section that we're just in while you're in game, if you're playing on PC, it's Q. I can't remember what it is in console. I think it's just pressing down on the touchpad or something like that there. I can't necessarily remember, but yeah, that is pretty much it. So moving on to the navigation sector right here, you'll see that whenever you're here, you have these little glowing things here, right? So these just basically signify places that you have not you haven't completed yet, right? So what you want to be doing is you want to be making sure that you go ahead and complete all these ones that are glowing blue, because that will give you mastery XP, and mastery XP is what is going to level up your account and make it so you can buy more powerful weapons and warframes, which is pretty good. The ideal sort of master rank that you're looking for would be to get to, I want to say, maybe 12 or 13. That's usually whenever people sort of find that they've had enough of the game, they stop playing, and then they come back for a while. So you want to get to 13, and then from that there point onwards, you'll have access to pretty much everything, and then you'll be able to just kind of go free and get everything in the game, which is, this game is like a completionist heaven, basically. So yeah, there's that there. So every single little flashy node will give you master XP, so it's important that you get every single node completed. It's also important to take a look up here in the top right hand corner. So the top right hand corner, this is going to be like your tabs for your navigation. So you click this here and it's going to expand, and then you can see all these different alerts and things to do. So alerts are missions that just appear randomly and will give a random award. So let's say we did this here alert here on E Prime on Earth, we would get 3,800 credits, which is pretty cool. So you know, you just go ahead and do that there, then it would disappear, and then you get the reward from it, and that's pretty cool. You have to actually have the node unlocked before you can do said alert. Such as Marie's Bazaar, we already have that unlocked, so that's why we can access that super early. It's on Earth, so we can just go ahead and do that there. I wouldn't recommend doing that there one yet, though, because it's pretty high level, and you're not ready for it at all. So what you'd be doing is you'd be progressing through, what's going to happen is you're going to be met with one of these junctions, right? And these junctions basically are like, they're like little places that you have to meet requirements in order to continue, right? So if we are to hover over the Venus junction over here, we have to complete the Vor's Prize quest, which we've already done, collect 20 mods, which we've completed, or we've collected 18 of, apply 4 mods on a single warframe or weapon, which we can't do right now because we sold all of them, upgrade any mod to rank 2 or higher through the fusion process, and defeat 3 Xmas enemies on Earth. So basically what you have to do is you have to go through and you have to complete all of those requirements, but I'll explain how to get those there done in the next episode of the video. But what you want to be doing is, if you want to continue playing, go from Earth to Venus to Mercury, because that's what you have to do in order to continue to Mars, because there is a requirement here which requires you to do the Once Awake quest, which you'll only unlock once you get to Mercury. So you have to progress this way. You have to progress down the way first to Mercury, and then back up to Earth, to Mars, to Phobos, to Ceres, to Jupiter, possibly to Europa, that one's optional, then to Saturn, then Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and then all the way over to Sedna. You can also access the Void once you hit Phobos as well, so there's that. So that is pretty much it for this episode of the Warframe Beginner's Guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button below. Hit subscribe for more Warframe content. Remember, if you have any more questions and you want them answered, I do stream over on twitch.tv in the morning time in GMT. Usually from maybe 9 in the morning or half 10 in the morning. That's usually the range that I go live in and playing I wake up. So yeah, that is pretty much it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button below and you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.